Hey guys, it's Jim. Hope you're having a good day. I'm working on a photo. Thought I'd do a little workflow video about it. It's a single exposure that I'm editing in Luminar, of course. And I just wanted to walk through what I do here. This is a little brew pub in Glasgow, Scotland. I was out shooting and stopped in for a beer. When I came out, Blue Hour was, on, and I had to get busy. So the first thing I did was shoot the brewery because I like the look of it. Sadly, though, as it always happens with a single exposure, the lights are pretty dim. Things don't look that great, and there's no detail. There's no real color pop. I passed this photo many times in my library, and I finally pulled it over the other day into Luminar and said, all right, I got to do something with it and see what I can come up with. So you're going to see what I come up with. The first thing I do is add a preset. So let me get into my presets. I'm in my Movable Feast preset pack, so sorry, a little bit of a shameless plug. But I like this preset. It's called A Lovely Day for a Stroll, and you can see the before and after is pretty significant already. I think the photo looks much better. And the preset, my presets, they generally have a lot of stuff in each preset. It's not one or two minor things. It's kind of a big change, and that's why I like to do presets. But I'm going to add another layer, and I'm going to go add a few additional filters. So let me go get those guys and start slapping them onto the photo here. Let's see here. Exposure, golden hour. Let's see. I do top and bottom lighting. I think that's it. So let's go with that. Okay. So I'm going to bump up the clarity a little, and I'm just trying to get this photo to be a little bit more interesting. I want to better manage the colors. I want to bring up some of the lighting and draw your attention really on that path, sort of, here in the center of the photo, and make these sort of lights pop. So that's kind of the goal here. So let me look at my notes and see what it is I did. I can never remember. Curves. I'm going to mess with curves a little bit. I don't know if you've seen my last video on curves, but if you haven't, I would definitely check it out a bit. I think it's going to give you a little bit of help in terms of understanding curves. That's way too much of that. There, something more like that. Trying to get a little bit more color here, a little bit playing off the lights and sort of the twilight look that I'm going for. Golden hour, I'm going to bump that up. Yeah, there we go. Hang on one second while I do that. Okay, and then top and bottom lighting. I need to brighten this guy. I think about like that. And I'm going to drop the shift so it moves a little further up in the photo. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I want to change the exposure in the sky and in the sky only. So I'm going to drop exposure. It's currently affecting the entire thing, but I'm going to grab the gradient mask. Sorry, I couldn't think of what it was called. And I'm going to click the exposure filter, and then I'm going to just come down here and drop it on right there. So I'm going to do something like that. I want to bring down, I should say, the exposure in this guy to bring up the contrast with these lights here. So that may be a little too dark. And in fact, now I'm going to go back over here and decrease a little bit of that top and bottom lighting. So I'm going to hit apply, and let me get back into hand mode. Let's do a before after. You can see we've come a long way. It's a little too pink and purple. So this is when usually when I've got a lot of filters on a single layer, I kind of like to add a new layer. So I'm just going to go add a new layer and put a few more filters on here. I'm going to get the HSL filter, and whoops, I forgot to click over here. I don't know if you knew that, but if you click plus sign, it'll add them to the filter section without taking you out of this menu. Whereas if you just click on the word, it'll take that one filter and then close the filter selection menu. So just FYI if you didn't know that. Here we go. So saturation, too much purple, too much blue. I'm going to bump up the red a little bit, and the luminance on the blue I'm going to take down. There we go. And I'm going to take the luminance down in this purple and magenta. Yeah, I'm getting too much color there. So here's where I go back, and I'm going to go to red, and I'm going to do a little less there. I think that's a little bit better. All right, let me go back to this layer. Okay, that looks a little bit better. It's still a little too bright in the bottom. So I think what I will do is I think I will just go add the exposure filter. Whoops, add filter, add exposure. And I'm just going to go do the same thing I did on the top of the photo, but I'm going to do it here in the bottom. So I'm going to grab exposure. I've got the gradient mask. I just kind of want to go like that. So I'm not going to make it that big. I think it looks good to tilt it a little bit. I want to pick up that light, and I'm not going to darken it that much. So I'm going to go a little bit lighter. I think that looks good. Let me see here. The before. Yeah, it looked a little too uneven. Now I think it looks a little bit better. So still a little too much blue in the sky. So I'm going to go back to saturation. And I'm kind of all over the place here. Sorry about that. I'm just kind of picking up things and looking at them and saying, yeah or no, yay or nay, and just kind of going with it. And then I've got Vignette. Here it is. So I'm going to drop that a little bit and go here. And the beautiful thing about Vignette is this inner brightness. I'm going to bump that up a little bit. I want to draw the viewer's attention to this center part of the photo because that's really, the walkway goes there. That's where most of the light is. And I want to really bump that up. So inner brightness will just brighten that section of the photo. So let me turn off this layer. I think we came a long way. That looks like a bad HDR in that everything's bright and everything's saturated. I think this looks a lot more realistic. Clearly it's got some art to it, but let me show you the before and after of the entire photo. That's where we started, completely bland, no pop, no color, no contrast, no lighting, really just a flat and boring photo. And now we've got that. So I would still play with the saturation here. In fact, I think what I'll do is I'll add a filter and I'll just get saturation and vibrance. And I think I'll just drop the saturation of the whole thing because it's all a little bit saturated. Maybe I'll bump up the vibrance a little bit. And I don't know if you do that much. Sometimes I want to desaturate, but make the colors still kind of pop. And I do that. I'll take saturation down and vibrance up. So let me see. Yeah, it's not a huge difference. It's subtle, but maybe I'll go a little bit more on decreasing saturation. But there you go. That's the photo. So here one more time is the before. And now we've got the after. So before and after. It's a vast difference. And I'm making it into a darker, sort of a deeper sort of night shot. And again, trying to make this light here pop. Let me see how well I did on that. I think we did a good job bringing up the light on the path and the plants and all around the sort of the front gate here. So that's that. I actually think I would drop the vignette a little bit more just to accentuate that a little bit. Yeah, a little bit more moody, a little bit more fun. And then I think I'm finished, people. So there's the before, flat, boring, no color, and there's the after. Now, it's fairly dramatic, but I like how I was able to control the light, bring it back in the right places. Use the gradient mask with the exposure slider. That's basically dodging and burning. In this case, I'm just trying to darken certain sections of the photo, and I do that with the exposure slider and the gradient mask. It works great. So that's how to handle this photo. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time, friends. Adios.